Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. As always, a reminder that this podcast does not constitute real estate advice, legal advice, broker advice, or advice of any other nature. This is an informative podcast. And if you need advice, please reach out to the correct professional who can help you. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Launch, Grow, Harvest Podcast, Business Growth Coaching with Connie Boona and Roland Kim.
Hi, everybody. This is Connie Boona.
And this is Roland Kim. Welcome.
Welcome to the Launch, Grow, Harvest podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about learning. Learning is huge. Learning is a massive topic, and there are so many different ways that we can learn and also be taught to or be coached. And so I want to dive into that topic a little bit further with my favorite business partner.
Definitely. I mean, what are the different types of learning that there's available? So you got sales class, you got teaching, coaching. You could hire a coach, get an accountability partner. You could get a mentor. They're all different. So what are the different values? Who's looking for what?
Yeah, exactly. So, some of the ways that different people have approached learning that has really inspired me. We work with an amazing professional who uses his professional development credits and his learning modules as a part of his listing and buyer presentations. So he actually positions his portfolio or his I don't know if I would call it a record of his training, but he does present it in a manner that he is showing his clients or his prospects just how engaged he is in his own learning and in the betterment of his professional skill set. And I found that to be such a powerful way to regard required and mandatory learning, as well as an inspiration for those of us who need a little bit of motivation to actually do more and to intentionally plan to do more. Often when we start off in training our courses, we talk about the different types of people that might be in the room, right? We talk about the prisoner. We talk about the prisoner who's in the room and they're on their phone the whole time and they feel they really are begrudging the fact that they're there. They're frustrated. They're not into it. And fair enough. They're not having a good day. They're the prisoner. We talk about the voyeur who sits there. They don't say anything. They don't engage. They don't participate. But they're observing. And then we talk about the active participant, the person that's paying attention, they're engaged, they're participating, and the different ways in which those people will experience the training. And that's always a powerful way to sort of set the stage. Roland, could you share with us how do you feel you learn? Are you more of a voyeur? Are you a participant? How do you typically show up?
I'd say I'm coming from curiosity, so I come from it from a good place. I don't think I've done training in a long, long time with frustration or anger, but I would say I'm a bit of a voyeur versus a participant. And it's not that I'm shy to participate, but I don't need to. I like learning from other people.
Yes.
I will certainly participate if I feel it's a class that is struggling to get participation.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm certainly not one of the folks that repeats 3 things that have already been said.
Just to hear themselves talk?
Yeah, without noticing that that's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But I love other people participating. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, it's interesting how at every different time of one's life, different type of education and knowledge is relevant.
Yes.
So I think of, back at the beginning of our real estate career, I remember taking Richard Robin classes, and it was quite a decision to spend $350 for a 2-day event, which sounds ridiculous now. But I would sit back, and I was a real voyeur at that time where I'd be taking notes and certainly not participating. But that helped me. That was what I needed at that time.
Yes.
And then, now we do a little bit of everything, but I would say a lot of folks initially are obviously participating in the educational sales classes that they need to in order to get their designation. Some are doing it begrudgingly, but that's a
Mhm.
different story. And then, you might be investing into a class with a professional that has something to really teach you and offer. And in that way, they're teaching you, you're kind of sitting back, and everyone's getting a different message based on how they perceive the information.
Totally. And so one of the ways that I think, as business professionals, one of the ways that I've tried to come at learning, and sort of from the mandatory professional development credits required to keep my license, as well as the ways in which I want to develop myself as a professional and as a human, I've started getting really intentional about what that looks like. So spending time, certainly as I'm business planning for the year ahead, but then also reflecting regularly at periodic intervals throughout the year. Quarterly is a very natural period of time for us to do those things because we're already doing check-ins, but to say, okay, like what's available out there that would be both rewarding to me, it would be beneficial to my business or my life, and also it checks the box of sort of the required learning or knowledge, or it protects me. I think about how many people in our marketplace right now, as legislative
Mm.
changes have come into effect that impact the transaction. And not just in a small way, in every way, almost every transaction, we have new legislation and guidance that has impacted the way we need to explain that to our clients. And how many of our colleagues have not done the basic training that's available online at a self-directed pace for a nominal fee, what you might pay for a sandwich and a drink for lunch. And yet, they really believe that they're giving good service to their clients by and not having
Yeah.
this training. It just is, it's so surprising to me.
So what stops them? Because that course that you're referring to, it's a couple hours. It's not a mandatory course, but it should be in some ways because as soon as a realtor hasn't gone through it, but they're going through a new transaction in the current environment, they go from confident to
A bit fearful.
fearful. But yet they don't do their own best effort to learn it.
Hmm.
I mean, I kind of leads into, I think of how many people we've talked to in the past where they're presenting to us kind of the challenges that they're having in their business and where they want to take it, and they feel like there's no solution. And we say, have you thought of coaching with this coach? And they won't do it. And
Yes.
it might not be a cost issue, but they feel like it's not the answer.
Well, I think that there's something very natural about having fear around accountability. And I say that from a very personal place that I know I coach once a week, and I've done that. I receive coaching once a week, and I've been doing that for many years now. And I know for myself, there are many, many times that approaching my coaching call, I don't want to do it, because what I know is going to happen is my coach is going to ask me questions and hold me accountable to potentially to commitments I had made the week prior, or to commitments that I've made overall to better my business success, and sometimes that feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, your level of coaching is I'd say at the highest level of accountability. Like the permission that your coach has to call you out on things and push your buttons is powerful, and it works for you. For many people, it's not that scary,
Hmm.
and yet it still holds them back. And I think, I think a lot of our advancement and what I watch you over the years having done is, I would say, it kind of comes back to early on. Someone introduced us to an education plan similar to a business plan each year.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if we do it actively or passively, but by the time January rolls around, we kind of know the main, leadership events we're going to, some of the classes that we need to schedule for our mandatory obligate licensing,
Mhm.
and then we fill in the pockets with what we're looking to learn.
Totally. And so the opportunity here and where I really want to sort of draw some focus on the essence of what we're trying to share today is that um, learning is opportunity. Learning is a chance to sharpen your knife. Learning is a chance to build relationships, to improve the way that you engage and interact with your sphere, with your clients, with your database, with your colleagues. The opportunity, for example, when you're doing your professional credits to connect with, hear from, and meet some of your colleagues in the field. I think if you focus on these activities not as burdens, but rather as opportunities to, again, maybe learn something that you haven't learned or fine tune something that you may already know, but you want to tweak, and also deepen relationships is so, so huge. One of the things that it can also do, especially for realtors who in a shifting marketplace might be struggling with activities, is that if the market is shifting in a direction where you're not as busy doing the busy work as you can be in fire hot markets, what I think can tend to happen is that all of a sudden agents are not clear on what they are doing with their day. And this can happen in pretty much any sales environment where if you haven't built a system and a habit around the rounded whole picture of how you are constantly doing consistent activities to bring you consistent results, and you're only servicing sort of let's say you're only dealing with the fish that fall into your net, then you can find yourself potentially a little bit at odds, floating around, wondering what the heck to do. And investing in some great training is an amazing opportunity to time block structure into your day and also allow you to ideally implement, again, in a time blocked and structured manner, some of the lessons you're learning. And every time you're learning something new, I think that also opens up opportunities for how you might be able to engage with and share that knowledge with your sphere. Newsflash, that's called prospecting. That's an opportunity to have a conversation with people about the fact that you're a professional.
Yeah, I mean, you just described to me, I visualized kind of how we have our business and how I think other folks sometimes struggle. And to me, it's described really easily as farming versus fishing, right? Like
Mhm.
fishing, you're kind of, you're going to go somewhere, but you don't know if you're going to bring one fish home or no fish or three fish. You're kind of in control of a few of the variables, but the biggest variables to your outcome that day are not in your control. Where farming, I would say, once you have all the ingredients and the material you need and the time, and you toil in the soil and you get up every day and you do the work, you can't help but be successful.
Yeah, you
And
will.
everyone knows that. But why do we struggle in farming versus
What an
fishing?
amazing analogy too. Um, let's go deeper on that because obviously with farming there are variables, right? You can't control the weather,
Sure.
but you can certainly do your best to build out your greenhouse, right?
Hmm.
And one of the ways in which we're really learning about farming and protecting our crop, I love this analogy, partner, is
What
that
are we growing?
we're building a fence around
Yes.
our farm. We're
Yes.
building a moat around our business, right? And how do we do that as business professionals so that we always maintain that front of mind position with our sphere and with our database? It's a really powerful way of drawing attention. It doesn't mean that fishing isn't fun, because fishing is fun. And also, if you want to consistently have food on the table, farming is absolutely, without a doubt, necessary.
Isn't it funny? Like I just visualized if I was a single person in this profession, I could probably survive with fishing because it's more fun and it's more sporadic. But if I'm accountable to others and I want to, take care of my kids and my family, I almost have to choose to go beyond fishing and now create a business surrounded by farming.
Mm.
And then the early days of farming, it's just like, oh, I got to find a plot of land to work from. So that's kind of like what's your lead gen source, and you're just trying to figure out what the neighbor's growing and how to do it and replicate that. And then, as you mentioned, once you have really figured it out, you've got years in the farming business. You're now focused on, you're kind of taking for granted that you're going to have a great crop every year because you're doing the right things and you're pivoting when things come up, like, a rainstorm or a lack of rain. And then it's a beautiful thing that you can start working on, like you said, building a fence, building a moat, protecting your business, scaling your business. And
Absolutely. And these are the ways in which, at any stage of your business, you can take advantage of the various ways in which learning can impact you and propel you. But as you develop, there are a very small handful of people that embark on a new career path and invest, for example, right away in coaching. Very, very, very few people. And that's okay. There's no judgment around that. In our world, we regard spend in a way, we use the analogy red light, green light. I spend money, green light, when I have it and when it's justified. And red light, I don't spend when I don't have that money. So it's possible, for example, when you're in your early stages or you're in a relaunch stage of your career, that the cost of one-on-one coaching may be prohibitive or may not be justified at that time. But the opportunity to pour into, for example, an accountability class, there are so many ways in which you can obtain a similar result with very little output cost.
Definitely. I'm thinking of a realtor in our office that has a great accountability system and partner. When you walk past her office, she literally has $100 bills hanging on a string.
It's
And
amazing.
if she doesn't do her job, she has to give $100 to her accountability partner.
Her accountability partner.
Yeah.
And that is, that's a way in which she feels motivated. I feel motivated, frankly, when I come into the office and I'm an early bird. Like, I'm up early. I'm always the first one up in my family. And she's the kind of person where even if I come into the office at 7:30 in the morning, her car is there.
Yeah. She sleeps overnight.
She's
Partner, bringing it back to learning is huge. What would you say as tips and suggestions for folks that are struggling to sit in a class to learn or they just don't feel that they get value from it?
That's an awesome question. So first and foremost, I would challenge them to say, are you actually there? Like, are you mentally there? So are you attending that class and turning your phone off, or are you attending that class and scrolling through TikTok the whole time? Or sitting there with your laptop and like only partially listening. So, we can all be guilty of doing these things, certainly, but just like it in anything, right? I can't go to the gym, sit on the bike and play with my phone for an hour and expect to get fit. It's just not going to happen by showing up.
Okay.
You got to show up and you have to really be mentally and physically present in that environment.
That's such a great analogy, right? Because so many people do go to the gym but they're not putting in the effort, and then they're complaining about it doesn't work. And that's very similar to learning. So it's showing up is I think first and foremost, but it's not the secret. And then it's the activity, and coming from curiosity with an open mind. Right?
Yes. And if you feel that, for example, you're not seeing the types of training modules available to you at the board or in your brokerage, in your office environment that you want to see, bring that to the attention of the leadership. Share some suggestions with the education department, with your board. These are things where, for most business owners and, for organizations like your professional boards, they're actually wanting to curate content that people want to receive. And so be an active participant in your life and in the way in which you will learn and grow. And I assure you, you will build a plentiful garden.
Wonderful as always. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you, partner. I love chatting with you. And thank you so much, gang, for listening to us today. This is the Launch, Grow, Harvest podcast. My name is Connie Buna. I'm here with Roland Kim. for Kim Boona Real Estate Group. And we're always interested in chatting with you and learning from you on what you want to hear on this podcast. So please don't be shy. Reach out to us. You can find us on our social handles, kimboona.com, connieboona.com, or Launch, Grow, Harvest. Have a great day.